Up today on the Locked On Hornets podcast, LaMelo Ball, he's out again. We've become Locked On LaMelo, so to speak. That's what happens. We talk about your best player when he's injured again, and it seems to be a chronic issue. We'll get to that. What is the question surrounding LaMelo and his future with the Hornets? That's the one we focus on today, Locked On Hornets.
You are Locked On Hornets, your daily Charlotte Hornets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
In a minute, cuz we live.
It's Locked On Hornets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Thanks for making us your first listen. We are free. We are available anywhere you get your podcast, and that includes YouTube. Real quickly, want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time? We appreciate Game Time as always. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Walker Mail. You can listen to me on WFNZ every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Sports Radio, 92.7 WFNZ. And if you're listening, you're not watching us on YouTube, then you notice Doug did not answer the Game Time call. That's because he's not here. This schedule, this week, it's going to be a little wild because of what Doug is doing, producing this real big, important Yahoo Sports show daily, which it is. I say it out of jealousy, but it is. It's really important. Go check out Jason Fitz and Caroline Fenton, who do a great job with Doug behind the scenes. But because of the schedules, what I have in store, Hornets game tonight, going to be at the Battle of the Hornets Nest Trophy tomorrow. Go Niners, baby. We're representing for the most beautiful trophy in sports. Go look it up if you haven't seen it. That was just full, saturated with sarcasm. So 49ers going to be at the game on Wednesday when the Hornets play again at home against Milwaukee. And then I'll be out of town this weekend. So the schedule's kind of crazy with us going back and forth. I think you'll get a couple of normal shows, but really it's going to be a lot of alternating with a bunch of solo pods. And I think you're probably also going to get a lot of LaMelo conversation. If you don't feel like you've gotten a lot of LaMelo conversation already, boy, the more games that he misses, the more you can expect us to talk about him because he is so important to this team. He was so important to this upcoming year, this season right here. It's here, baby. We're playing basketball. Except for LaMelo, who's going to miss his fourth straight game tonight against the Lakers. LaMelo with right ankle impingement, going to miss the fourth consecutive game, according to the Hornets injury report. He's listed as out for tomorrow's game or for tonight's game against the Lakers. They put out the injury report yesterday. So we've passed the threshold already after the second missed game. We passed the threshold for, hey, maybe it's just load management with the team having this plan in place for him to play as many games as possible. Charles Lee talked about that before the game against Miami on Friday. Here was Coach Charles Lee with an update on LaMelo's injury.
Yeah, he's got that ankle impingement, and it's been good to see. He's been able to get a little bit of work on the court, and I think every day he feels a little bit better. He's joined some team activities, which is great. So the goal is to have him available as many games as possible this year, and so I think that we're just trying to take it day by day approach, got a process, and he's got a plan in place, and he's getting better every day.
We'll go back to that sound in a moment. I don't know if I'm going to make something out of nothing here, but there was something at the very end of that soundbite that did catch my ear a little more so. But LaMelo's going to miss a fourth straight game. This missed Lakers game will mean he's missed from Sunday of last week to Monday. That's about a week's worth of time. They still need him to accomplish whatever they were hoping to accomplish in terms of their ceiling, winning games. I'm careful to put that caveat on it because maybe the Hornets just don't mind pivoting again to this somewhat tanking season or a season where they don't mind not winning as many games because you have another deep draft class, and maybe that's the time where you push all those poker chips in, right? It was the trailer to get you excited for Hornets Real Access. It's Jeff Peterson talking before the intro to one of those episodes this offseason. Hey, we got to make sure that it's the right time before we push all of our poker chips in. Maybe you have one more season of mostly not great basketball. You don't win a lot of games. You get another high draft pick, and then next year. These are the conversations we're having right now when your best player continues to miss a bunch of games. So you still need him if the goal is to get to the play-in tournament and to reach your highest end outcome. And, and what the spirit of basketball is and what the spirit of sports is, winning actual games in your sport. So you have a couple questions, right? One, anybody paying attention isn't really asking if LaMelo is good. That's not a question that anybody real is asking. We have varying levels of conversations about how good LaMelo is really. We're just having it up in this space up here where we can have the role player conversation down here, right? You're always going to have conversations about how good a player is really, but we understand we're having it up here with LaMelo, and then we're having it somewhere a little bit lower with a lot of the other players. I think the question rising at this point for the Hornets as it pertains to LaMelo and his future with Charlotte, is it worth it anymore? Trying to come up with a gauge of Ball's trade value is nearly impossible, which is what Tim Bontemps writes on ESPN.com when he and Brian Windhorst went back and forth on some of the potential stars that could be traded before the deadline. LaMelo was included in that. LaMelo at this point has played in just 58.1% of Charlotte's games since being drafted number 3 in 2020, and outside of one blowout loss in a play-in game, the Hornets haven't sniffed the playoffs. Again, all that written down by Tim Bontemps. You start to focus on that 58.1% number. That's since he got drafted. Man, you're talking about the first 2 years of LaMelo's career being among the least injured. The second year, he played 70 games. He was very good and available. The first year, he did have the injuries, but remember, he came back in a way we didn't really expect with that wrist injury. He came back for the last 10 games of that season. Some of the percentages plummeted, but, I mean, we all gave him a tip of the cap for coming back sooner than expected. That was awesome. It's been the ankles that have been the real issue, which is what he's experiencing again, right ankle impingement. If he's going to not play even 50% of the games, if you just want to cut it down to the last 3 years, that 58.1 number, I mean, that is enhanced by what happened his first 2 years in the league. Okay. So a few things to look at here. Is it worth it anymore? Would someone take a flyer on him, is what Brian Windhorst asked on ESPN.com. Sure, one Western Conference executive said, but Charlotte isn't taking or asking a flyer price for him, which you can understand, man. This is your best player. A flyer, hey, we'll take a flyer. No, man, we want the goods if you're going to go after LaMelo. If you want to trade for our best player, even if he hadn't been available, I don't want to just give it, I don't know, to somebody only willing to give us pennies on the dollar, right? Nah, I'm not with that. And I get why the Hornets wouldn't be with that either, even if beggars can't be choosers. So here's what else they write. You haven't learned a lot about this team. They started out 3-5 for the 4th straight season. You talk about some of the draft picks, Salon only playing fringe rotation minutes, not a great sign for him. You do have some great signs from your rookie class this year with Kon Knueppel, Ryan Kalkbrenner, and Sion James. But as far as the LaMelo trade value goes, and as far as what the Hornets team really is as we get a little bit further into the season, Brian and Tim, they write, check back in a month or two to see if any of these questions have been answered. Okay. Is it worth it anymore? Is it worth it? I think you have to understand what you would be getting back in a trade for LaMelo. This is the most interesting thing in that write-up from Brian Windhorst on ESPN.com. When you have LaMelo, Ja, Trae Young, all those guys in the mix of stars that have accomplished a lot, but also it's been a while and they've been pretty chronically injured. When you have that group of guys in one bucket, Brian Windhorst writes, if you're asking me, if Trae, Ja, and LaMelo all came into the trade market tomorrow, I think LaMelo would have the best market, and that's him quoting one NBA executive. But that's all hypothetical right now. I think LaMelo would have the best market. If LaMelo has the best market compared to those guys, then, okay, great. But I guess that's not really the question that we're asking. Is it worth it for the Hornets, even if you could get more than you could for Ja Morant and Trae Young. Like, I was listening to some of the Zach Lowe fake trades on one of the latest pods that he revealed with Michael Pina as a guest. It was a great job by going back and forth between the two of them. But man, those trades didn't necessarily entice me if you were asking for the same type of package in return for LaMelo. But LaMelo's been clearly better in the games that he has played for Ja, compared to Ja. So if LaMelo's been clearly better, we're going up in price, but just how much? Let's continue to talk about this. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. I want to know what life would look like without LaMelo. What would life continue to look like with LaMelo, both on the court and off of the court? That's still coming up. LOH. Before we continue the conversation, I want to tell you that this episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Your ambition, it just met its match. With Robinhood, you play for the win, not just on game day, but every day. Locking in on every opening, beating your PR, beating it again. Channel that drive into your money, and Robinhood puts you in control of your money. Trade stocks, ETFs, options, futures, and crypto, all on one platform. You can now build and execute your own trades from a desktop with Robinhood Legends advanced tools, or take advantage of the new Robinhood strategies with a tailored portfolio managed by a team of experts. You expect more from yourself. Expect more from your money. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Again, that's Robinhood.com/yourmoney, your move. This episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time? I heard it. I know Doug is listening and yelling back Game Time somewhere. Basketball season, it's here. Nothing beats being in the arena for those opening games, but let's be real. Getting tickets can be a total headache between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout. It's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Game Time comes in, the app that gives you, all the fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NBA tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. They have great zone deals, which are a game changer for consumers. You pick the section, Game Time picks your seats, and then you save big. You can even find NBA tickets that way for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Man, I was looking at some of the games that LaMelo did play. There's plenty of differences when he's on the court compared to when he's off the court. But one of them is, if you noticed in the first handful of games that he did play, I mean, they were just racking up 30 assist games because everybody's clearly better based on, one, the gravity from LaMelo, right? We know that people need to fear him behind the three-point line. He feels like he's in range anywhere he's in the half court, and also just being a world-class playmaker. LaMelo didn't have anything lower than 8 assists in a game he went out. Didn't have anything lower than 8 assists in a game. And then you talk about that 8 assist mark being the lowest for LaMelo, but it would have been the highest for the Hornets each of the last 2 games. I think it was like Trey Mann and Colin Sexton each shared leading the team in assists. The last couple of games, you're only talking about 7 and 5. Yeah, LaMelo, he just makes everything go. Everybody offensively is so much better. It's worlds different in terms of their transition efficiency. He makes everybody better, and we all know this. So we go back to, is it worth it? What are you trading him for? I think this is the hardest one, because this is the conundrum you get into. As soon as LaMelo comes back, because he's not going to be out for the season, he's going to come back at some point. So when he comes back, let's say he looks awesome again, because you do have a better team around him now. You've had the best team around him since that play-in year with veterans and ending up 43 and 39. So he's going to look good. He's going to look awesome when he comes back. Now, when he's good again and the team starts to show a lot more competency offensively because he's on the floor, now we have this falling back into, God, this team is going to be great. Now look at him, man. He makes such a difference. The second half, maybe they make a little push. Maybe we just go back to beating up on the bad teams and then being competitive against some of the better teams out there in the league. But that's cool with me. I see the vision. Then, Brandon Miller's going to come back at some point. Not going to be for a while, but at some point, now you pair LaMelo with Brandon. then everybody can play the role they're supposed to. Miles being, I think, the biggest example of that, taking less responsibility off of him. That's what I like to hear. That's my favorite song. And then we hear the skip track, which is LaMelo getting hurt again. But by then, you've already lost the value if you don't capitalize on some kind of trade, right? Because he looks great. You don't want to trade him because he's actively helping you in those moments. And so now you just want to keep him for, again, a fourth straight year that this is happening, at least at this time, a fourth straight year that this is happening. And then you don't pull the trigger and it happens again because there's been all this history over the last 3 years that he's going to get injured again. That's what is going to happen with LaMelo if you look at the last 3 seasons. And if that is the case, now the value goes down, right? It's striking while the iron's hot. That phrase exists for a reason because when it cools down, hey, man, I'm good. I don't want to give you anything of real value. So I don't know what LaMelo would go for on the trade market. And I don't even know how much the Hornets truly want to trade him. It just feels like all of this is coming to a head. If you pay attention to Hornets Twitter, LaMelo is being written about for a specific reason because of some of the injuries that he's experienced again. So with this, I don't know about you guys. To me, it feels like, at least within the Hornets community, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be at the games, I'll say this, I saw quite a few people out in Charlotte this weekend, shout out to everybody that listens. I really appreciate it. And the guys that love LaMelo and have defended keeping LaMelo for so long, at some point, they get tired of running into the brick wall too. And I heard that from, I would say, 3 people that wanted to come up and talk Hornets ball with me. And I get it. And I've talked about it as well. I don't want to trade LaMelo like that. But are we just continuing to run into the brick wall? Because I'm hurt, man. I got a black eye. I got all sorts of marks of running into the same thing over and over again and not going around it. It's a longer trip, but do you just go around it at this point? Okay, if you wanted to trade LaMelo and you're talking about expiring contracts, how many picks do you think you could get? Are you getting really good players here? You could go that route because you feel like you have enough in place with your young players that are showing you something, and you have a decent amount of draft picks at your disposal also. Do you just go after some good role players to match the salaries, expiring contracts to help you next year, and then you get, I don't know, a first rounder? I just don't know what a team would be looking to give up. Right? Going back to that Zach Lowe podcast, he was going through a list of teams that might consider trading for Ja Morant. If you want to, it's not apples to apples, right? But if you wanted to try to take some of that and apply it to the LaMelo situation, the first team that comes up that makes the most sense, it's Sacramento, because Sacramento, they make dumb decisions. This is what they do. Hey, I know Hornets and Sacramento, they're comparable in terms of what they have not accomplished going to the postseason, right? It's not even really in a shade. We all know what it is, man. If you wanted to say that about the Hornets for the last 25 years, hey, no shade. It is what it is, what it is. So with Sacramento, maybe they trade for LaMelo and they give us everything, something you'd probably have to consider at that point. I don't know what other team, like Toronto, that was a team thrown out for Ja, but yeah, I mean, you got big salaries. I don't think there's anything interesting for me that I would want that Toronto would give up in that regard. So I think for me, as we kind of meander down this road, I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating for people that are just ready to wash their hands and be done with it. It's frustrating for the Hornets. I mean, they want him out there. I know LaMelo wants to be out there. I think he does. I mean, it's just not happening. I know it's frustrating, but also what LaMelo brings us now, being in a Hornets uniform, I think brings us more than what he would realistically get on the trade market at this point in time. And if he starts to play really well again, then maybe that's when you strike. But at the same time, I still don't know if he's going to ever bring you the kind of value that would warrant ending up trading him. That's where I am right now. It's real fluid. Oh my God, I just quoted Stephen A. Smith. It's fluid. The list is fluid. It's real fluid. things could change as we get a little closer. It's what Brian wrote on ESPN.com. Check back in a month, check back in 2, because every game that he misses, man, that enhances the conversation. That enhances I should say, the eject button starts to look a little bit bigger. Man, it's tough not to push that eject button the more games that he misses. And now he's not even questionable on these injury reports. He wasn't questionable going into this Lakers game. He was just immediately out. So the more he misses, the more this conversation surrounds us. I mean, we're having it every single day. That's the kind of LaMelo watch that we're on because of how much this matters to this season. Going back to the offseason, it was, hey, this is it. This is the year that everything has to come together. And we're not even to the double-digit mark in games played, and it feels louder than ever because of the recent history surrounding Charlotte's franchise player. So what does life look like with him gone? I wanted to explore that well. Coming up next on the Locked On Hornets podcast. What happens with everybody else if LaMelo is eventually shipped out for whatever that package would be? I do want to explore what life would look like without LaMelo in a Hornets uniform anymore. That's still to come. Final segment, LOH. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. They've been such a good partner. We've appreciated FanDuel helping us out here on the Locked On Podcast Network with the NBA being back. I mean, there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com, sign up today, play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. More Locked On Hornets ahead. Let's say they do it. Let's say they end up trading LaMelo for whatever, right? I don't even want to hypothesize what that package would be because it is impossible to gauge what the value is. But here are a few things that you have to be okay with or prepared for if LaMelo is not on the team. Okay. One, if you're not a Charles Lee guy, I'm telling you, you're going to have to extend the grace period for Charles Lee or understand that the grace period is going to be extended for Charles Lee. Nobody expects you to win more games when your best player isn't on the roster anymore. There are some inexcusable happenings like what happened in the fourth quarter of that Pelicans game, but the reality is you are starting 3 rookies or you're playing them a lot and 4 rookies are a part of the rotation. I don't know if this is a team that has enough talent to overcome the losses of LaMelo and Brandon. So if you're not a Charles Lee guy, just know if you trade LaMelo, that grace period is extended. And I think rightfully so. Yeah. Okay, Charles, go win a bunch of ball games without your 2 best players and also maybe your 3 best, even if Miles, or depending on what you think about Miles is on the injury report with back spasms right now. Don't know if he's going to play. He's questionable for this Lakers game. I did see a tweet. I think it was Hornets Ruined Me, who tweeted out, what do you mean our 3 best players are out? We got Musa, we got Kalkbrenner, we got Kon Knueppel. And it was like, yes, I feel you. That's a sicko. And I love that tweet. Good one. Next one up. So Charles Lee grace period extended. Risk of asking Brandon to do too much. Yeah, man, there's still some questions about Brandon being the primary facilitator, right? Just, okay, LaMelo's gone. Go back to that assist stat that I just gave you. LaMelo is by far and away the best table setter, which means everybody eats. And if LaMelo's gone, now I think, one, this is glass half full, glass half empty, but you start to get, I think, an answer based more in reality of what these guys can be without the point guard. And it's just, okay, it doesn't mean that it's a bad thing if some of these players need a point guard to help get the most out of them. And big guys do. All sorts of the best players in the league need a true facilitator. But, LaMelo being gone, you could look at that as, okay, now we'll really know what Kon Knueppel looks like in on-ball scenarios at such a high volume. But also, you could say, buddy, we're going to get to know that. I don't love it. I think every rookie that is a shooter that relies on a bunch of spot up, catch and shoot opportunities, and the ghost screen action that has been working for him so well, just slipping to the basket because they're so worried about extending their defense to the 3-point line with him. Do you have good enough passers in Colin and Trey, who are more scoring-minded guards that don't have the vision and the playmaking ability of LaMelo? Does it work nearly as much? Which, again, that transitions into what Charles Lee and Jeff Peterson told us was that they made their moves this offseason to supplement their two best players in LaMelo and Brandon. That was what this team was built in the eye of. And you can tell when LaMelo's out there, it looks like this beautiful symphony. That's the music I like to hear. When he's not, it starts to get a little choppier. Yeah. And I think that's real. I don't think that's just small sample theater. Nah, man, like we've seen enough of what LaMelo can do. He's special in that regard. So now you got to worry about those couple of things. Do you move on from Miles? That's one where I know a lot of people would just be thrilled with moving on from Miles. If you trade LaMelo, right, then do you have this not blow up, but this retooling and the forever existential question of rebuilding versus retooling? You trade LaMelo. Is Miles now a little more susceptible to being on the move? I don't think it means anything about Brandon, man. Like just because you trade LaMelo doesn't mean you're immediately trading Brandon. If you trade LaMelo, yeah, I think you could like see that as a bigger possibility of Miles being on the move at that point. I absolutely could. That's another thing. So here's something else as it pertains to the future. Freeing up space for Colin Sexton. Is that what life looks like if you trade LaMelo? Okay, that's interesting. You have to match salaries. So this one is more in the lines of if you trade LaMelo for expiring contracts and then those contracts are off of the books, now you're talking about more space to work with to re-sign Colin Sexton, who went on the court again. He missed a little bit of time with the neck sprain because he, just as a Tasmanian devil out there, he suffered the neck sprain because he hit the ground, chipped his tooth, and got rattled a little bit. Yeah, I'm not surprised at all with him playing like an absolute maniac, and we love him for it. So do you want to bring that maniac back, who's been such a culture setter himself that Charles Lee, Jeff Peterson, everybody with the Hornets seems to value? Then are you trying to free up some more money to pay Colin and someone else, right? I mean, he's not going to make the max, but you have more money to spend elsewhere. Are you worried about another point guard injury, right? Like, so if LaMelo is gone, okay, now you have Colin and Trey. You have a bunch of pretty good secondary ball handlers / playmakers. I would still argue you don't have your number one primary playmaker to truly bring the best out of everybody. And I think you've seen that bear out on the court. So, okay, now you're losing even some of those guys. If Trey Mann suffers another injury, Colin is out for a little bit more. Okay. That certainly hurts. And the other thing the Hornets are absolutely thinking about, because, yeah, this is a business after all, butts and seats. LaMelo brings the butts and the seats. LaMelo's got jersey sales. LaMelo's popular. And he's popular with me. Like, I don't want to not watch LaMelo go with these crazy passes to the corner anymore. I want to see that in the purple and teal. So, like, with us podcasters, us content creators, media, but also just fans who want something to cheer for, you got a little more to cheer for now than you did if this was happening last year, and it was happening last year. Instead of now having to rely on the progress of Tijan Salon and him not giving it to you, now you get to rely on the progress of Kon Knueppel, who just looks fantastic. My God. Like, and perhaps that's another thing. I do wonder, this is a fun game to play, or maybe a painful one. Kon Knueppel doesn't show you this. Does that change the calculus on how you approach the LaMelo situation? But because he does look like this, even if it's very early, I mean, nothing looks unsustainable to me about Kon's game. So if this is the real deal, if Kon is showing you all of this, then does that change how much you would want to give up LaMelo in both a positive and negative way? If you don't want to give up on LaMelo, it's like, yeah, God, if we trade LaMelo, it feels like we have, I don't know, 3 pieces that could fit well together offensively with LaMelo, Brandon, and Kon. I mean, you're talking about, at their best, really good shooters all 1 through 3 with size and strength with Kon. He's a strong guy. LaMelo and Brandon are just long. I want that to work. I know the Hornets want that to work. So you could look at it that way, or you could look at it as, well, we do have Kon. It's not like we're setting ourselves back nearly as much as we would have if Kon wasn't looking like this, or if we're talking about making this trade last year where we had Tijon as our rookie that wasn't progressing nearly as much as we wanted him to. Now the war chest is a little more full with the assets that you have collected, especially in this idea, this hypothetical world of trading LaMelo. Yeah, those are the questions. The big one at hand. Is it worth it anymore? It's so soon in the season. If LaMelo comes back and plays the next 30 games consecutively, maybe you look back at this episode and say, wow, that was an interesting time in Hornets lore. But everybody's talking about it now, and for good reason, because we don't know if the Hornets' best player actually plays basketball games over 50% of the time. Not anymore, at least. And if he doesn't, then he can only help you so much. That'll do it for Locked On Hornets. Thanks for making us your first listen. We're free and available anywhere you get your pods. That includes YouTube. Go check us out anywhere you get your pods as well. We mean at Apple, Spotify, anywhere. Just search Locked On Hornets. Also, Doug Branson, Yahoo Sports Daily, everyhornetsboxscore.com. Go check out his projects, and then listen to me on the radio, Sports Radio, 92.7 WFNZ. We are on with Wes and Walker every weekday from 12 to 3 p.m. Have a great rest of your day. We'll be back with you tomorrow.